Hello everyone, welcome to the Elliott Confidential Podcast. I'm Aren and I'm here with Chris, and today we are in
Borneo. We're in a place called Kuching, Borneo, better known as the Cat City. Because Kuching means cat in the local language.
Yes.
And if you drive through the city, you will see statues of cats everywhere.
Yes, that's true. And this is basically a part of the equatorial region of Southeast Asia, and it's a very interesting place. A lot of people, he used to believe that Borneo was like a mystical place with...
No, wait.
Whatever.
No, what I said was that Borneo, there were no satellite images of Borneo because of the constant cloud cover. I read that somewhere. It ended up not being true. The things you read. Well, I believe everything I read on the internet.
Yeah, it's like the Amazon, except in Southeast Asia. So welcome.
Right. Anyway, so here we are. We were in Australia last week, and we're here now. So we've traveled a long way to get here, but it's definitely been worth it. I'm fascinated by this place. Borneo. Before we get to that, we should talk about this week's question, because it's been a really interesting week in the travel industry. Southwest Airlines has rescinded its bags fly free policy. And so on a related note, we were wondering, if there was a destination that you've ever been a frequent visitor to, that where something happened, you decided not to come back anymore. Kind of like what's happening right now with Southwest Airlines, where people are saying, I will never fly that airline again now that they've gotten rid of the one thing that made it special. And we're seeing a lot of that right now, unfortunately. It couldn't happen to a nicer airline. I actually love Southwest Airlines. I don't want to say loved yet, but it's on its way to not being so loved. Anyway, have you ever been to a place, Aren, where you've gone there repeatedly and then you decided that you didn't want to go there anymore?
Well, I think that we have a policy when, in our travels we don't want to revisit the same place too many times. It's more like a standard where you say, okay, I'm going to be in a place, and if I've been there already for like 2 weeks, a month, I don't need to go back unless I know that there's more to see. So for most places, I don't want to revisit, but that's after one visit. Places that we visited more than one time that we've said, I'm kind of done with this. I think Christchurch.
Yeah.
Because it's too small and we spent way too much time there, so it's like, I don't really want to spend any more time than I already have.
I think next time we'll go to Queenstown.
Yeah.
I'm told that's actually a really cool place, and they've got good skiing there too, so I can go get into another accident. Anyway, Borneo. Let's talk about Borneo. Where is Borneo?
Borneo is on the equator. It's in Southeast Asia. It's and it's actually shared by Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia.
Right.
So those are the three countries that represent the nationalities of Borneo, the island.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is a popular time, it turns out, to visit Borneo. Everyone likes to come here in June, July, and August. In June, there is the rice festival, the rice harvest festival. Very popular time to be here, but it also gets a little bit hot. When is monsoon season again?
I think monsoon season happens in winter months.
Yeah, it's like November, December. That's when things get very, very rainy. So if you want to avoid all the tourists, don't go in June, July, and August. That's what people here are telling us. When you go walk through town and start talking to people, they'll tell you, don't go in June, July, and August, because that's what everyone is here.
Yeah, but the rain doesn't seem to be that much of an issue. Like, this month is one of the rainiest months. Actually, next month is going to be even rainier. But no, it's actually, sorry, that was from last month. February is supposed to be one of the more rainier months, and March is it's the second rainiest month.
Yeah, it's March already.
Yeah.
It has rained here.
Well,
it rained
it's
yesterday,
very rainy,
pretty intense.
But you could just wear a poncho or whatever you call these things. Yeah.
Don't forget your raincoat if you go to Borneo.
Yeah.
So we went to a couple of places. Semenggoh Nature Reserve was our first stop, where we went to
Semenggoh.
Semenggoh, sorry. Semenggoh, like I was saying, Semenggoh National Park, Nature Reserve, I should say, which is where they have all the orangutans.
Yeah.
And we have a picture of and some footage too. So let's show you the picture of the orangutans. This is where they feed the orangutans, and all the visitors come and check them out. And unlike a zoo, the people are kind of in the enclosure, or they're fenced in, and the animals are all around them. Kind of a cool place. What did you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole history behind the place is that there used to not be orangutans there, and then they found stranded or injured orangutans. They wanted to rehabilitate them in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, and so they brought them over to Semenggoh, and it was a good place for orangutans. They fed them, and they wanted them to be able to live in the wild on their own.
It's kind of like rehab
So
for
they were
orangutans.
rehabilitating them.
Yeah.
But in the process, they also created a really cool tourist attraction, because now these orangutans on a regular basis come to this station twice a day for food.
For food, yeah. But they don't always come. So you're lucky when you see them. And then there are actually more of them in the afternoon than in the morning. We went in the morning, and we saw 2 of them. But sometimes, I think they have 17 in there.
They have 20,
more than 17.
So less than 30, more than 20. The most.
Lots of orangutans, and they're roaming free.
Yeah.
So, if you like seeing orangutans, or if you've never seen one in the wild, this is a pretty cool place to go.
Yeah.
Our next stop was Sarawak Cultural Village. And by the way, if you are from Malaysia and you hear me saying these names, I am mangling them, I'm sorry. But that does bring up a really interesting thing. There's something here called Minglish, which is Malaysian English, and it's hilarious. Because they mix all these languages. It's like Singlish, right? Yeah. They mix all these languages into English, and so you understand every other word. It's kind of cool. And our linguist here has been having a field day.
Well, that's interesting. Interesting to listen to. Yeah. So
cultural village.
Yeah.
So let's talk about cultural villages. We have we have a photo here of the dances that they did. There are several cultures represented, indigenous cultures, and they all have long houses and where they show what their way of life is, and then they also do some performances twice a day. We went to one of them. Aren, what did you think?
You know, I think culture is interesting, these cultural villages. I don't know, I've done a little bit of a reflection on our experiences seeing them, and in the grand scheme of things, this one was pretty good, but I think it's a very interesting experience. I think that if I had known more about the culture beforehand, then I probably would have been able to get more out of it. So it's interesting, because I think that it's better if you go to a cultural village and you have an idea of what people's way of life are. When they try to represent the many dozens of ethnicities here and their ways of life, it's kind of like introducing someone who only speaks English to Chinese. It's all sort of Greek to me, and so you hear all about these ethnicities and their cultures and their way of life, and it's kind of like it's all new, and it can be a little bit, for a tourist like myself, it can be a little bit too much.
You know, what I would suggest is, if you're going to go do a cultural village like this, that you learn about the culture a little bit beforehand, so you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because I'm still processing what I saw. It was really interesting. We got to meet one of the chiefs there, and he explained how they live, and that was kind of cool too. But the thing that I love the most were the dances. When you see other cultures represented, when you're traveling, they're often very earnest and serious, and everyone should be reverential, respectful. But these guys here, you can look at the expressions on their faces. They're having a really good time. They're not taking themselves very seriously. There was one guy who was doing the announcing, didn't understand a word he was saying. I knew it was English, but I didn't know what he was saying. But he was like having fun with the reverb on his mic. enjoying themselves. And I thought that was kind of cool because I'm used to going to cultural villages where everything is very, very serious and people are almost somber. It's like going into a church. Here it was more like a party.
Yeah, so usually in our experience is people are very grave at these cultural attractions and they're serious and they're like, I'm doing what I've done for the past 400
my grandparents
years.
did this and before them their grandparents. And this, I think, is a government-run institution, so they really are interested in keeping these cultures alive. It's all part of sustainability, part of a series that I'm doing on sustainability. You can read more on my website soon. Shameless plug. Okay. The other thing that we did was we really got into it because we went from there into the mountains of Borneo, and we visited with the Bidayuh Tribe. I'm sure I mispronounced that. I'm very sorry if I did. But we stayed, we talked to someone who's running a homestay, and we learned how to farm rice and how to prepare some of the traditional meals. You're laughing already. Okay, take it away, Aren. It was a farmhouse. What did you think?
No. We didn't learn how to farm rice.
No, they did. They showed us. I mean, they showed us how they farm the rice, but we didn't actually plant. We didn't plant the rice.
They did the farming, and then we saw them.
We just ate.
We saw them polishing the rice, for example.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I have do I have a photo? But yeah, anyway.
No, you have a photo of me helping prepare. This is a photo of me preparing the rice.
Oh, yeah.
And
so how they prepare rice in a bamboo chute. There's like a giant bamboo tube. So they put it over a fire, there's water, rice, and then they just cook it.
And what you don't see, we don't have video of this, is that a few seconds after that photo was taken, I actually spilled the contents of that rice. They cook the rice in the bamboo.
Yeah.
And I spilled it all over the place. Right on top of her. She was not very happy. Anyway. Aren, who should be going to Borneo, do you think?
Well, I think that you should go to Borneo if you're interested in really expanding like your world, because this isn't a place this is not a place you can go to expecting more of the same. It's honestly, I was talking with someone about this today, and they said, "What are your impressions about Borneo?" And I said, "I have a lot to learn." It's really hard for me to say what I think because a lot of this is just so new.
Yeah, I'm processing it too right now. Still,
to say, oh, it's just like other places in Southeast Asia, it kind of doesn't do it justice.
No.
You have to come, you have to see what it's like, and I think that then you can make up your mind, but it's just different.
The people here are really friendly, though, I'll say this.
Yeah.
And they're not at all standoffish. You can talk to anyone, and people love to see visitors here. Maybe it's just the time of year, because I know that more come in June and July, but people have been really nice. We're here during Ramadan, so tonight there's a big party downstairs where they break their fast at sunset, and they're like, hey, show up, let's have fun together, you know? I think this maybe even said it in those words. It's Minglish, so you know, you have to kind of like read between the lines. We talked a little bit about the best time of year to visit, but if you went back, what time of year would you go?
Wow. You know, I've seen the weather, and it looks pretty constant all year round.
It rains a lot.
So
yeah,
I would actually go the first December, and the reason why is because they have a fruit festival there.
A fruit festival?
Yeah, the durian festival.
Okay, we should talk about durian for a second. It's a little controversial. Western visitors don't really do durian because it smells bad to them, but they love durian here. There's durian everything, including durian ice cream. And so we talked to people here about how they view durian, and they love it. There's like different varieties of durian, and then there's the festival that they do for durian. So yeah, I mean, I might try the durian myself, but I don't know. It does smell a little bit.
I worry. Yeah, I wouldn't do it because we're staying in a nice hotel. But no, I think in terms of fruits, and there's a lot of fruits that come into season supposedly around that time. And they have such a variety of fruits. I mean, I think if you're really a fruit enthusiast, you have to, of course, go to Southeast Asia at least once.
For sure.
There's there's a lot of different countries around the equator where just fruit is plentiful, and you're going to experience a lot of new things if you like fruit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here and in Brazil. Brazil has a very
Brazil
very
has
diverse,
great produce.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Since this is the Elliott Confidential podcast, we like to tell secrets. Something we haven't done in a while. And one thing that I heard while I was here is we were touring one of the in the cultural village, we were touring a longhouse. And the area here is known for its headhunters historically. In fact, when I told people I was in Borneo, they said, watch for the headhunters. Which was, I think they were kidding, because there are no headhunters here anymore, at least none that we know of. But I asked when the last time was that people went out headhunting, and it's surprisingly recent.
Really?
Do you know the answer?
Yeah, it was with the Japanese, 1943.
1941 to 1943, there was a Japanese occupation, and they tried to enter the land of some of the tribes here, and they were unsuccessful. The tribes actually attacked them and took their heads and as trophies. Thousands, actually, according to our guide. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe a note to anyone else who is thinking of invading Borneo, not a very good idea.
In our last podcast, we asked the question, have you experienced any anti-American sentiment in your travels? And you had a lot to say.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
BR says, when I was younger, I experienced anti-American sentiments on occasion, usually in larger cities. There's something comforting about now being a little old white lady who is easily overlooked and seen as non-threatening. When I lived in Canada, I picked up a small Canadian flag pin, and I've been wearing that when I travel internationally. No other words are necessary. You know, interestingly, I have a column coming out tomorrow about how to deal with xenophobia and anti-American sentiment. And I had a paragraph from a guy who said that he pretended to be Canadian, and one of my editors said, I don't think we should include that right now. So it got taken out of one of my newspapers. Yeah.
Bizarre.
Whatever.
All right. Ray Barb writes, in September 2001, 10 days after 9/11, I was with a group walking the Inca Trail. At several villages, people came out and asked, Americans? The 3 Americans in our group were then hugged and asked to stand in front of a U.S. flag hanging in the little square for photos with the villagers making the peace sign.
Oh, that's nice. That's like
nice.
The reverse of anti-American sentiment.
Yeah. That's nice.
Sam says, I have not encountered any anti-American sentiment, but a lot of sad, questioning, astonished, pitying sentiment for what's going on in the States. We always try to remember that we might be some of the few Americans that people might meet and act accordingly, so they think that Yanks are nice and respectful people. I like that. I think that's always a good policy.
Yeah.
You don't want to get targeted by being rude or obnoxious or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we also had some really nice comments about this podcast. As you know, we switched from just doing audio to doing video, and we had a lot of fun doing that, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I like seeing you.
Yeah.
I think you like seeing me too. You like seeing us?
It's a lot of work getting the photos, actually.
Yeah, the editing is a little bit of work, but we like it. We'll keep doing it. But we had Annie, our friend in Colorado, said, love the video podcast. It was great to see your faces as you told about your adventures in that very special area of Australia. Christopher, she says, you get the Photo of the Year award for the wallaby posing by the sign. Priceless. Priceless. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I love getting comments like that. Anyway, we are going to be in Malaysia for one more week, so we'll be reporting from a different part of Malaysia, still Borneo, next week. So we are looking forward to talking to you then.
Yes. And we'll talk about Malaysian food, hopefully, then, too.
Yes.
We have to do that.
It'll be fun. All right. See you next week.
All right.